name's Jesse Schell. We're at PAX Prime 2012. Some people know me from my Gamepocalypse talk that I gave at DICE 2010, and other people know me as the author of The Art of Game Design. I designed it very much with kind of the casual reader in mind, someone who hasn't had formal education, and I wanted to use the principles of game design in the book, so I tried to make it engaging and entertaining through the book, and I think that's part of what's been so popular about it. What I found is when I told people I was going to write a book about game design, they often said, you can't do that, it's not going to work, because you're going to tell people how to do it, and game design, every game is so different, anything you tell them is going to be wrong in certain cases. And I couldn't argue with that, but I had this realization that questions can never be wrong. And so what the lenses are really questions you ask yourself about your game design. And the answer might be yes, it might be no, and it might lead you to something new, but that's why I realized that should be kind of a foundational notion. Look at your game through many different perspectives by asking these questions. Yeah, right, it's a good question. You know, why should I be writing a book about game design? So I've been designing games my whole life. I started programming games when I was about 12 years old, and later on I became the director of, the creative director of the virtual reality studio at Walt Disney, and that was where I really got my initial education. Then I started teaching a class in game design at Carnegie Mellon University, and it was after about 5 years of that I started figuring, hey, maybe I can kind of take what I've been learned by teaching and put it in book form. So that's kind of how I got there. I also made this sort of deck of lenses, because in the book we have 100 different of these lenses that we put out, and I found that, like, man, it's so many I can't even remember them. So the cards are a useful way that you can kind of hold them in your hands. So during the design process, you can sift through them or shuffle them and pick out ones that might be useful to you right now or might be useful to you later. And so we found it was a nice way to kind of have a hands-on version of the book. So if you're going to make money at making games today, you've got to understand what's working and what's not working in the marketplace. And the marketplace is changing so much. It's not just the retail space anymore. The retail space is on the wane. We're in this new world of free-to-play games where people are introduced to games in new ways. They tend to be introduced to them by their friends who kind of told them about something. There's opportunities for a free download. And what makes people choose to pay and choose to keep playing and choose to tell their friends, that is the engine that drives the industry. And if you don't understand that, you are going to have a hard time finding ways to kind of make things work for you in your game in the industry nowadays. So it's not that you have to make your game necessarily for everybody, but you have to know what audience you're going for, and you have to find the right social elements, the right payment mechanics that are going to work best for them. It's crazy to think that you can just make simple groups and say that, all males from 18 to 35 are going to like these kind of games, and that all women of this age are going to like some other kind of game. People are so much more complex than that. And what's exciting is the right thing to do is to find niches that nobody has addressed. And when you do that, you end up with like a rabid following if you can figure out what those niches are. And that's part of what we're hoping to do with Puzzle Clubhouse, actually. We see that there's a niche of people who'd like to make games but don't quite know how to get started. So it's sort of like an on-ramp for people who are interested in figuring out what does it mean to be an indie game developer. Puzzle Clubhouse is an online service that we just started. We just launched it yesterday. And the idea is we're going to produce one game a month. The games come out on the first of the month. And the games are produced as much as possible by the audience. So the audience works with us to produce these games. We put out a call for ideas for games, and the ideas come in, the audience submits them, the audience votes on them. We put out calls for content, so the audience produces the artwork, the audience produces sound effects and voices they record, and even game prototypes. People code stuff up and make a video of it and submit that, and people vote on it. It's the way we think of it, it's sort of like improv comedy, right? You've got some comedians up on stage, they solicit ideas from the audience, we find a way to kind of mix it all up and then do something cool with it. And at the end of the month when we ship the game, anybody who submitted content that got in, they get a credit that goes right up along with professional game developers. It all gets entered on Moby Games, and you end up having an official game credit in the industry. So the financial model it's experimental, and we're going to see how it works. The games are free. Anyone who wants to play them can play them. If you'd like to vote, that's also free, but you have to sign up for a free account so we can record the votes. But if you'd like to submit content or you'd like to be a super voter with super voting privileges, then you need to be a member. And membership is $19.95 a year. We're hoping we can make enough money to fund this because we really like this model. We really like the whole model of the thing putting together. Any extra money that we're able to get is just going to be used to kind of make the games better and hopefully make them more frequently and make them more often. At this point in time, there are so many people that would like to become game developers. It's sort of like when the rock and roll movement happened in the 50s. Like all these people are like, hey man, I'd like to start a band. Or in the 70s when we had punk bands show up. People like, maybe I could do that. I'd like to try that. And we have the same thing now with indie gaming. So many people say, man, I'd like to try. I love games. Like, how could I make one? And they want to find their way in. And so we sort of, it's like we see that as like an unmet need because it's like there's a wall for people trying to get in because it's not easy. I mean, yeah, it's easier than it used to be, but still, if you want to do mobile or something, you got to spend a couple $100 just to be able to go on mobile at all, and then you got to figure out how to make art and integrate it and coding and music, and it's a lot to do, and it's a little overwhelming for a lot of people. And what we like about Puzzle Clubhouse is you just come and do the part that you're good at. If you're funny, kind of bring your jokes. If you're if you kind of can do cute drawings, let's see those. If you got great game ideas, put those in, and then you'll work with everybody else. So we're kind of taking the best of what everybody's good at in the crowd and bringing it together. And this is a time when people are really into sharing, right? You look at Wikipedia, and the fact that works at all is because people love to share things that they're excited about and things that they're good at. So I really think that I'm hoping that Puzzle Clubhouse will be the beginning of kind of a revolution of new ways for people to create and share things together. The only way to learn to be good at making games is to try your hand at it. And one of the cool things about this is every piece of content that goes up, there's opportunity for people to comment on it. The audience can comment on it, and our professional developers step in and they kind of give their critique as well. And so it sort of opens up like sort of the backstage. You get access to myself and other professional game developers at Schell Games who are going to give their thoughts on what's working with your idea or your artwork or your music or whatever it is you're bringing to the table. Right now we're using Flash as a framework just because it is simple and it kind of works on, you can do it on websites and it's really easy, and it easily integrates 2D artwork, and most people have the easiest time contributing 2D artwork. Later we may try other platforms, but right off the bat we're doing all this kind of in Flash. We have a whole badging system, and we haven't figured out what all the badges are yet, but anybody who contributes content gets a badge for that. Anybody who obviously become a member, if your content gets put into an episode, you'll get a badge for that. We're still figuring all that out, but there's going to be a lot of tiers, and part of it we're going to let the community figure it out. What do they think they would like to see people get recognized for? It's all part of the kind of crowd design process. You go to PuzzleClubhouse.com and you can try it out, sign up for a free account, poke around, see if you like it. If you're into it and you want to submit content, you easily just kind of turn yourself into a paid member right on the site. But just go to PuzzleClubhouse.com and check it out.
IndieGameReviewer.com